The concept of career capital is simple. It's your education, your experience, and your results. I got this word from Cal Newport, wrote an amazing book, So Good They Can't Ignore You. And in that book, he creates this thesis that he supports with a lot of data. Right? He's a computer scientist, so it's science and data to prove his thesis, which is if you focus on developing skills, those skills will eventually get you on a mission and get you to a point where you are doing work that doesn't feel like work anymore. It's so enjoyable because you are able to align the skill with your passion. And I've taken that and said, well, if I want to develop skills to expertise, how do I need to analyze my skills? How do I describe my skills in the way that I'm moving towards expertise? Iterating around this triangle, and I go from education, I then go get experience, I deliver results, and then I go back up to education. Education in this context isn't just formal education where I am going to school, because in all honesty, once you leave school, you realize that the greatest thing that you learn upon leaving, whether it's high school, whether it's college, is the fact that you don't know anything. And so you have to create a practice of self-education and self-learning so you can continue to grow. And this education encompasses all of that. And you keep iterating around the circle. You can put any skill right that in the middle and say, okay, I want to get some education around that. I want to go get some experience. I want to deliver results. And then I want to go take those results back to education. What do I need to know? Where do I need to fill in gaps to keep moving forward? That's the concept of career capital. It's really important that you understand those simple 3 steps, because that's going to be brought to life by this framework that I call the 3 I's before E. The 3 I's are inventory and assess. You need to have an inventory and assess where you are with your skill set. Number 2 is invest and test. If you listen to the episodes that I have with Bart, he talks a lot about how he invested time, how he invested money in his skill set and his IP that he was creating, and he constantly tested it. He constantly put it to work in different roles that he took to understand, could he deliver results with it? The 3rd one is illustrate and tell. You want to illustrate with great examples, great stories, great lessons learned, things that are rich and add value to your story. You need to learn how to tell your story, telling it in a way that is engaging, fun, impactful, that people will get excited about. And let's start talking about inventory and assess. Inventory is going to be as simple as it sounds, where you want to create a list and list out your skills. And I would say do a dump first, get a lot of them out there on the table. And then assessment is where you want to get an objective assessment where they are from an experience level in the market. So if I ask you right now, what are the skills that you're able to bring to a role that is going to make an impact for a company? Could you answer that? Could you list that concisely with confidence off the top of your head that would be able to share with somebody the value that you bring to a company? Could you identify which ones are your strongest skills and where you believe that you excel in the marketplace and you can deliver more value than somebody else, or you have a unique value proposition that you could deliver? What about the ones that you're investing and developing into? Can you describe those, where you are on that journey, and maybe what help you'd need along the way? Because you're talking to somebody that could ultimately become a mentor or somebody that could help you. If you can't answer these questions right now off the top of your head and list those out in a very direct and convincing way, then this is ultimately the work that you need to do. This is the inventory and assess exercise. And so I know for myself, when I was in industry, one of the things that I could talk about right off the top of my head was the fact that I had deep experience with SaaS, software as a service, business applications, implementation, and management. One of the unique things that set me apart is I had been doing it since 2004, and I had actually written with co-sponsors, co-authors, a lot of the framework of how implementations were done at Accenture and how they evolved. That was a unique skill that I could talk about in detail that would uniquely set me apart. I could also talk about my team building skills and my experience at specific companies and how the leading indicator that my skills were at the top of his game was the fact that I had an incredibly low attrition rate. My attrition rate was usually around 1%. annually. And I worked in an IT function in technology companies that generally had a very, very high turnover. I also attracted a very diverse population. I could go through and provide demographic metrics that showed that I hired and built diverse teams. Those are things that I could go through in detail right off the top of my head, and I still could if I was interviewing for those positions. And ultimately, those are the things that set you apart.